Are we set? Okay, we're on, I believe. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the March 11th meeting of the Marine and Environmental Resource Task Force Advisory Committee for the town of Fort Myers Beach. Would everyone please rise and give the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
And now we'll sing.
No singing.
Just kidding.
Okay, with that, I will give the roll call to ensure we have a quorum present. Bill Altoff. Here. Sharon Hagstrom.
Here.
Ed Rude.
Here.
David Nussbaum here. Todd Zaccarelli.
Here.
Jennifer Rusk.
Present.
Robert Howell.
Here.
Okay, we have a complete board. Thank you, everyone. And this is a quorum, so this is a regular meeting. With that, I will accept a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting.
I will make that motion.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is approving the previous minutes of our previous meeting, which was held Wednesday, February 11th, 2026, at Town Hall Council Chambers. I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes of that meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Dave Nussbaum, seconded by Bill Altoff. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Okay, public comment is next. And looking out at the audience, I don't see anyone raising their hand, so we're good compared to a couple of months ago. So I will close public comment and immediately go down to current items on the agenda. Our goal today is twofold. Number one, we have been tasked by the town to come up with some guardrails and recommendations for the town council regarding a water taxi, water ferry service. The Anchorage Advisory Committee has also been charged with the same challenge by town staff. So part of what we are trying to do today is look at different options and objectives and guardrails that we have, primarily looking at it from an environmental standpoint on the Back Bay, because this is going to have a huge impact on traffic on the Back Bay. So we need to look at it from a environmental standpoint, but also from a user standpoint, what will benefit the residents and the snowbirds and the tourists that visit the island, keeping in mind we're trying to alleviate traffic flow, but not at the expense or sacrificing anything on the Back Bay. So that's kind of our dual mission on it, and we're, again, as with anything else dealing on this type of topic, we're trying to find that sweet spot, that balance between what's good for the island, what's good for the bay, and what's good for the residents. So that's kind of it. A proposal discussion draft has been written very eloquently by Chris King who's chair of the Anchorage Advisory Committee. She was kind enough to share it with me, and I thought it was so well done that you all have a copy of it. And we're going to just kind of take this, read it as we sit here and discuss, and just start going through some of the needs and wants that we think we should be discussing. They have asked that both committees meet, and this is on our agenda, and we'll take a vote a little later in May where we'll have a dual meeting. But prior to the meeting, I thought it would be extremely productive for us to just have our own meeting, have it on the agenda, go back and just discuss our thoughts. We're the advisory committee. We're supposed to be looking at it, and at least we can encapsulate our thinking and our thought process prior to just walking into the meeting in May and saying, boy, we're coming in this thing cold. So that's, and I want to give it enough time for the committee to go through, analyze what Chris put down on her discussion draft, and then we can add anything else that we feel. Rob, part of what you've been banging on your drum for 2 years, putting prop guards on, I think this would be an ideal time to look at it. And that's kind of the direction that we want to go. We're not saying anything has to be mandated. We're just trying to put some guardrails down and then look at how many applicants do we want to have. Do we want to look at an individual company, more than one company? Do we want to look at the possibility of perhaps licensing people like an Uber driver, doing customized service where they could go through and someone could call and say, pick me up here and drop me off at my pier, 2 miles down the island, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I think a lot of the things that it's going to have to be very fine-tuned because there's a couple ways you can do it. You can have a point A to point B, and it's contracted through the city, and no matter what option we go with, at no time should they be paid by how many trips they do, because then we run into them going faster. We're already dealing with, and if they're trying to get back and forth, they're going to go faster and faster and faster, and we already deal with speeding issues. So that's my first worry. The other one is if they're, they have a point A to B pickup that's set, that's great. But if they're doing it like a suggestion where they're getting picked up wherever and dropped off wherever, then we start wondering, is it that's going to be hard logistically for it to be beneficial for everybody if it's like that, because they need a specific pickup. But unless we got one large ferry or multiple boats, it's not going to alleviate, in my opinion, any of the traffic coming over the bridge.
No, not at all. I think
Yeah.
this is actually, the whole idea of it coming to MERTF is out of our purview. We're environmental, so it's a business. I guess I'm maybe a little out of the loop. My question would be, is this something that the town would be contracting a company out of, or is it the town that would be providing the service? So.
It's also, I don't want to speak for Pink Shell. Whenever I'm here, I'm not speaking for Pink Shell, but having worked for Pink Shell personally, the idea of, let's say they get picked up over, let's say hypothetically, the pickup spot is the Dock Ford's dock. Okay, hypothetically, it's a dock over in that area on Little San Carlos. We want to go to Pink Shell. Okay, doesn't matter where they park their vehicle to get there. They get on the boat, then they come to Pink Shell hypothetically. they have to deal with the dock master. There has to be space. There has to be a lot of logistical things for them to be dropped off at that random spot. Now, if they worked out where the dock from Dock Fords and the dock over at Snug Harbor are the point A to point B, and that's just back and forth constantly, that's different. But if it's not, and they want to go to any number of other docks or resorts or hotels, or unless it's a private residency, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to pop up to have people just dropped off at those areas,
Oh,
and they might not even be okay with it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, if we're looking at this, as I said, one of the things we have to determine is, what do we think realistically would be a good number of drop-off points? You know, certainly Bowditch Point
Yeah.
could be a drop-off point, that's part of Lee County.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, you know, for something like that, there's Moss Marina
Well, and-
has an area, you know.
Well, I think the only way, after reading through what you sent, and I was trying to think through like how it could work. And the way that it came to me is, one, it would have to be a fairly good sized vessel, abiding by other rules. And yes, I 100% think that it should have the prop guards. I think, you know, any non-private boat, even private boats, but that's a whole nother fight. Prop guards would be great. But I think the way that it would work best is if it was a water version of the open air trolley that we already have, where there are set stops. One would be Bowditch Park once that dock is fixed. One would be potentially a dock down by Times Square that we would have to work out with the property owner. One might be Mound House. And it's those 3 set stops plus one on Little San Carlos or off island, where it's a timed, we're at this dock at this time, then we go to this dock at this time. And it would have to be run by the city or something like that, but a private entity, I just see too many problems coming up. But having it would essentially be a sightseer cruise that makes stops that you can get on and off instead of a thing. You can buy a ticket or whatever, or it could potentially be free like the open air trolley as just another way to get around the island.
So, Rob, I actually know people that started a water taxi service years ago here on the island. And they spoke with other companies that started as well doing water taxis. They've never made it.
Yeah.
Their main thing is people expect them to be at a certain place,
Absolutely.
and you have to go, you know, it takes you
Yeah.
about an hour and a half to get down the island if you're,
Right.
you know, doing slow wake speed. So,
Well, and that's why I think having it where it's more of a convenience, like our open air tram, where it's not something that's going to break or ruin someone's day. They're not dependent on appointments so much as, you know, and I'm not saying I'm for or against it. I'm just saying I'm trying to put out alternatives or ideas as to if this is going to happen from our experiences here living on the island, being on the island every day. This is just how I would see it working.
so
where
is this
it's-
a private company that has gone to the town to express?
There's,
It's a hypothetical.
this is,
Yeah.
this is nothing more than the town manager has asked both advisory committees to take a look at the concept and determine what would be some realistic guardrails, what would be some wants, what would be some needs. You know, what I need is I need to have a service that would potentially take people off the street and put them on a taxi service.
Yeah.
My want is to have enough boats that would make it effective, have a timely schedule. I mean, the trolley is great, but my comment to a lot of people, they ask me, where can I get a schedule for the trolley? And I said, it's online. And they said, how accurate is it? And I just kind of look at them and I said, it depends on the time of day and the month of the year. Otherwise, it's a pretty good schedule.
Could be an hour.
It could, so
They try to run every 20 minutes.
they try to run every 20 minutes. So, but on the water, it's a little different because you pretty much know how long it takes to load and unload a boat. You know how long it's gonna take, even with the slow zones. And then it's a matter of how many boats do you wanna put on schedule that can go through loading, unloading. Fort Lauderdale has a very extensive water taxi service if you've ever been there. And they run pretty much on schedule all the time. But they got a lot of boats, but they've got a lot of canals too.
Well, I worked for a company that did a water taxi service from Pelican Bay community out to Lover's Key. And it's very easy to set those schedules because you don't get into traffic jams and you don't have to deal with a lot of that. And it worked well, but it was a private company that was contracted through that community. So unless it is a public transportation of some kind through the city, or if we hire an outside company, they're going to have to be like, it'll be a set pay. It won't be per trip, because it'll just be something that isn't dependent on speeding, I think is going to be the biggest worry.
Okay, and that's a big need
Yeah, if that's-
that we want
Yeah.
to put down is whatever service gets plugged in, if one does, it shouldn't be dependent on speed.
Right.
It should have enough vehicles to maintain whatever schedule they're going to maintain.
Yeah.
I think what we need to keep in mind is got to keep water taxi and water ferry separate. A water taxi is more like an Uber thing. A water ferry, the original concept when it came, former Councilman Adderholt used to be involved in this. So there was people that expressed interest in a water ferry. And the idea was to bring folks from one end of the island to the other. Usually this time of year and moving from the south to the north, that those folks would want to go have dinner, have some drinks, enjoy the scenery on the ride up and the ride back, maybe have a cocktail on the water ferry. I don't know, I wasn't involved in it. But let's keep those two separate, and that might help with a lot of discussion as well. But I believe would be a private business if there's interest out there and if they have the ability to make money.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, thank you for that distinction, because that is a good point. I feel like there's already options out there with private captains if you want to get a ride somewhere, in my opinion. Like, you can walk up to the fisherman captains sometimes and they'll give you a ride if you want it for, a couple of bucks. They don't necessarily always advertise it, but I've seen that happen. So I think having something that's on a schedule, and going all the way down to the south end, going to like the dock at, what's that, Flippers on Lover's Key?
That is a possibility, or also the Lover's Key State Park itself.
Right.
We're also, I think they were looking at
Fishtail Marina.
Fishtail Marina,
Fishtails.
possibly at the Mount House,
Yeah.
possibly at
Snook
Snook
Harbor.
Bite, possibly at Moss.
Yeah, so have set stops on a schedule. In my opinion, that's the only way it's going to logistically work.
I agree.
In my opinion. So
What about parking?
Yeah,
That's, to me, is the first flaw I see in any of this is, say the town owns the terminus area. I don't think we own any land. So we're gonna be renting, per se, any of these dock spaces. Is there enough space at those docks, the existing docks, to pick up the extra parking for the people that wanna go over and take these? I'll focus on just the ferry end of that. That's just going from point A to point B to point C and just doing that all day long, right? So parking I think is gonna be an issue. It shouldn't stop anything, but we just need to find out who has the most parking. Because in the prior conversations I was hearing, you got down to the Mound House. That doesn't alleviate the Estero Boulevard.
the rest of it, yeah.
We got to pull in, how do we get people from down here on the south end to the north end? And then, like the councilman said, if we can get people, more tourists from Fort Myers Beach to drop off down here at Lover's Key, that's less traffic altogether that's out on the road. So parking is, the terminals, I don't think are a critical stop. Parking is I think, a critical issue. And then once you're on a boat, it's got to be of some capacity. You can't have a 4-person boat out there running these shuttles. That's just ridiculous. But we may find it prohibitive in the marketplace of companies that want to invest in a 20-person, 30-person capacity boat, because it's got to be a shallow V. The bottoms have got to be, yeah,
A shallow drafting vessel.
thank you.
And that would only be for a few months during season that you would even have 20 or 30 people leaving the north end or the south end at any one given time. So I think financially, it just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like MERF should really start focusing on more environmental issues like water quality, the health of our back bay beds for our manatees and our wildlife. I believe that those are the issues that we really should focus on versus a potential business that might come in or, so that's my 2 cents on it.
Well, even if a business does come in, it still has to address all these environmental issues. So it does fold into our purview, for lack of better words.
So, Counselor, you made a great point. What if we were looking at the town going back through and licensing an Uber type of situation where you had licensed Uber boat captains that were on the back bay? And again, going back to Todd's point, now you have the ability to go back and say anybody that gets an Uber water taxi shield or license has to comply with Coast Guard, including prop guard, so on and so forth. Again, that could be and to your comment, Jennifer, that could be a seasonal thing where people could go in and provide a service, make some money. If they have a pontoon boat that's fit, they can do it, take people up to whatever a pontoon boat ride is. They can pick up at a marina, drop off at a marina, so on and so forth, provide a service, and then when there aren't enough people there, they're not running it. That would be, and it'd be on call. Plus, some of the people that have a back bay canal could actually have them come in and pick up right at their, right on their dock on their canal, just like an Uber driver.
Well, I mean, at that point, I feel like that's already here, that's already happening. They just need to advertise differently. Like if there's an individual that wants to do that Uber thing, like the most that I feel like the city would be able to do is offer a list on the website of city-approved captains with a vessel. But if it's either going to be individualized and that captain is willing to use their vessel in time to do it, and then they could pass some type of, test or agreement that they're going to adhere to a list of environmental friendly things that we put forward, or it's going to have to be a big endeavor with a big vessel doing, I just don't see it being any more than it is now logistically, honestly. Like it's, the parking is an issue. There's so much that's gonna have to go into a big endeavor. I think to Jen's point, this might be something that we can advise and say what we feel about it, and that's what I'm doing now, but I don't foresee this becoming anything more than that, because it's gonna be seasonal. For a company to be able to agree to doing this, it's gonna take a lot of money for their staff, for the boats, for maintenance and things like that, where they're gonna keep the boats, all this stuff. And I don't think there's the infrastructure for a company to do that here unless they do it privately anyway, which could be done without anything the city needs to put into it.
And to your point, that's exactly why we have had so many water taxis come and go
Right.
and didn't make it,
Yeah.
so.
I don't think it's anything that, honestly, that we need to discuss anymore, because and I'm not saying, I'm not being like, let's stop talking about it. I'm just saying, I don't know what else we can bring to the table because there's not an infrastructure for it, and if there was, even like docks and parking and things like that, finding a company that's going to be willing to do this lucratively, I think is near impossible right now.
I think we're making a lot of assumptions for private businesses.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
What I think the town manager would like is help establishing some guidelines for a possible ordinance, so if something down the road happens, this doesn't become the wild, wild west, where everybody's going every which way but loose. So I think that's what your purview is in this discussion and this challenge.
So then do we just want to make like a bullet, like kind of back to what you were trying to do in the first place? 'Cause I feel like, I'm getting deep into what it could be. So do we want to make a bullet point of MERF approved needs and wants if this were to ever happen? Is that?
Correct.
Okay.
So just let me,
We're trying to get some guardrails set up that we can give back to the town council and the town manager, saying, we believe
Yeah.
this thought process should be included
Yeah.
if we're going to, A, regulate a company or companies, and B,
Yeah.
protecting the environment of the Back Bay.
correct.
So
So the main purpose of this, of both committees being tasked is, with this, is saying if the town was to take this on and allow this, right? We want y'all ideas, just like the chair just stated. So we take those ideas, but the town wants to control it, and we're going to use the information to put together the ordinance and guidelines of the entities that are going to come in and do these businesses. So I don't think the town is looking. This is all discussion right now, but I think it's going to be more looking like an outside entity coming in and doing it, not so much the town
Gotcha.
employees or starting a division just for that through the town.
Well, I would say then, for needs, obviously they have to meet and exceed speeding expectations and laws and guidelines on the water. They need to have.
Let me make
very-
this clear. Any business that comes in and runs this, they have to follow all the
All-
Coast Guard
all-
guidelines. They have to be a six-pack license, at least if they're carrying six members. If not, they're going to have a 2,500 ton. So, this is going to be regulated, and they have to follow state guidelines, FWC rules, Coast Guard, the whole 9 yards. So it's not going to be willy-nilly, and there's going to be a vetting process through the town to make sure that whatever business comes in has all the regulations, insurance, everything to be able to run their
I guess-
business.
I guess it falls then more on wants. What do we want it to have? So
Yeah.
I would like crop guards.
Okay, well, let's start with the biggest concerns first, and I agree with you, Rob. In my mind, the biggest thing is speeding on there. There should be no reason and no schedule or anything that even commits
No excuse
whoever,
for-
no
to do it.
excuses for anyone to be going through and speeding on the Back Bay, both for the safety of the marine life back there and for the seagrass that's growing back there and oyster beds and everything else. They have to maintain the correct speed and in the correct place at all times, period.
Yes, but does the town have jurisdiction to actually, approach a vessel that is running
The
that?
Coast Guard and
The
Coast
Coast Guard,
Guard,
but not the town. The town wouldn't have jurisdiction to be able to enforce.
but they could pull a license if you're pulled over by the Coast Guard or the Coast Guard Auxiliary, and say, if you get caught speeding on the Back Bay, your license can be in jeopardy.
Your license through the town could be in jeopardy?
Yes,
Your permit to run a
your permit
business
to
out of-
operate the town.
Does that go for any of them, any of the businesses that actually operate out of Fort Myers Beach?
We're putting up suggested guidelines.
Have we ever taken a permit or a license from a boating company off of Fort Myers Beach that was caught by the Coast Guard?
We're putting up suggested guidelines to the town.
No, I understand that, but I'm just wondering if you know
I
if the
don't know
town
of
has ever
anything.
pulled.
I know our beach vendor was threatened by the prior town manager to have their license pulled.
Beach vendor?
Yes.
Oh, one of the beach vendors.
One of the beach vendor on the 6,000 block was threatened to have their license pulled by the prior town manager for failing to comply with his request.
So same would
yes.
be on the water as well?
If the town is issuing a license, I think the town has the ability to write in the license that if they fail to comply, the license can be revoked.
So does the town give licenses to businesses that run out of, is it just to have your business parked at, say, Pink Shell or one of those? Is that, I mean, what is the license for? For actually operating the vessel
If
in
you
the
operate,
water?
if you operate a liquor license and you violate the license by selling to a minor, you lose your license. If you have a sound permit for music and you violate the hours of the sound permit, you lose your permit for sound.
So is what you're trying to get at, maybe, Jen, if it won't be like on a three-strike basis, like you mess up, then you're off the list of approved vendors. Is that kind of what we would like to aim for?
I think we can have, if you're going to do something like this, and speed is one of the critical issues, then you write something in the ordinance that says, here's a guideline. If you violate it, you're subject to have your license revoked, period. You don't have
Don't
to,
they have that with the parasail companies?
Yes.
and, You know, all the vendors on the beach, I would think.
yes.
I would think it'd be the same type of.
Correct, that's what I was wanting to state, that it's, exactly what you said, is that this is gonna mimic, kind of like the parasailing entities and stuff like that on the beach and everything that they have to get
I would think
permits.
it'd be
That's,
pretty much the
that's
same
kind of
license.
what we are discussing right now and looking to, if this does get approved, looking to control it that way with the ordinance and permitting. And there'll be a certain amount of permits and stuff like that. I mean, that's all up in discussion right now. Nothing's set in stone, but, you know, this is the type of process that we're looking at and why we want y'all's opinions as
Okay,
well.
There's
so,
multiple ways of keeping people in line, keeping companies in line, either through the ordinance to begin with, where you write into contract provisions into their contract. Because each of these people are gonna have a contract with the city or the town, correct?
perhaps, or just get a license.
All right, well, if it's just a license and you're not contractually tying to the town,
It depends on what the ordinance for the license says.
okay. But, so I think our first concern is the license, right? All right, what other concerns, guardrails, do we need to talk about?
Okay, if there's, you know, is there, one of the things that came up was, should there be a limit on how many people want to operate? How many licenses do you give out? If you have more than one taxi company,
I would think that if it's a shuttle service going from point A to point B. to
turn your
C,
mic on, Todd.
I would think that if it was a shuttle service, that there were, only one company could run it. I would think, because if there's 5 stops, they rotate on the 5 stops. I don't know how you could have another company squeeze in between there.
That's operating on the assumption that there would be a shuttle
Shuttle.
or something like
yeah,
that, not
to commercial stops.
not an
and-
Uber thing.
Right, not an Uber.
Okay, so if it's an Uber setup, I mean, if it's an Uber setup and you have a license to operate an Uber, because you want to stop at the townhouse and some of the other town areas, and you get a license, it's like a cab license in New York.
Maybe a want would be a Fort Myers Beach approved captain, where, I mean, anybody can.
Well,
I
you
can
brought
give
it up, there'd be a list.
Yeah, I could give you
that
guys a
people
ride
could
wherever you
just
want, but I'm
choose.
not an Uber driver. I have to go through their testing and their training or whatever they do for their drivers. And their cars have to meet a specific set of criteria
And I
that
would
are
think
even
the boats.
above, like.
And the boats.
Yeah, so to your point, maybe a want would be, it's not just anybody can sign up, they have to go through a checklist that Fort Myers Beach, Anchorage Committee, or whatever committee or town council, they would make a list of what to be a Fort Myers Beach approved captain for this service
In a Fort Myers Beach approved vessel.
in a Fort Myers Beach approved vessel. So that takes it above the standards of the Coast Guard and, you know, things like that. It's getting into a lot of logistics, but that would set it apart. So then they go to the website and there'd be a list of Fort Myers Beach approved captains, their contact information and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So anybody who runs the Uber taxi service or anything like that, first of all, they're going to be running a business, right? So it has to be a licensed captain to run this business. So they have to go through the Coast Guard regulations. Everything that you just stated, Rob, is kind of involved in the Coast Guard process to run a business. The Coast Guard, they have to get their vessel inspected by the Coast Guard and go through all the guidelines that the Coast Guard has, pretty much everything that you just stated. So that's
Right.
kind of covered already through the licenses and everything that they have to obtain to be able to run this sort of business.
Right.
You
No,
understand?
and I appreciate 100%.
I just wanted to be
be
clear on that.
I'm just saying to then make, because like you said though, everybody here I assume has our driver's license.
Right.
But we're not running a driving business. So we have to adhere to all the laws that you need to have a license. So yes, 100% what you're saying. I'm just saying to take it that next step up, that to be a Fort Myers Beach approved captain, not just a Coast Guard captain.
Right.
To make it on the list on the website for that, whatever, for lack of a better phrase, free advertising, on the Fort Myers Beach website, then they would have to adhere to our standards, which is going to be the same on top of,
And those would
Other
be
things.
qualifications
Yeah.
to be able to receive that license or permit from us, from the town of Fort Myers Beach.
Is there, a question that I've got, does anyone know, or is there even such a thing as a Uber boat?
yeah.
There is, where are they?
I mean, I don't know if he's operating this year, but before Ian anyway, there was a gentleman that was picking up at Bowditch and taking people down to Lighthouse Beach on Sanibel.
And it was through Uber, through the Uber service?
No, it's not through Uber. We're using Uber in the sense of that's a business that does what we want to do on boats.
It's
They're-
a business model.
Yeah.
It's a
We're
business
using
model.
that.
So you're suggesting then there's an app of some sort that operates like Uber, that people could go on and request, they could download an app and request a boat ride?
No, there's not. There could be.
There could
Somebody
be.
have to
So
pay to
we're-
develop it.
That would be a
We're talking
want.
about something that doesn't exist yet.
Well,
Right.
no, but we're talking about a lot of stuff that doesn't exist. We're talking about what the wants and needs would be. And going back to the Uber model, my question is, if we're gonna discuss an Uber model, there would obviously be a greater impact of boat traffic on the Back Bay. Would there be something where we would want to put a number on limiting the Uber model of boats on the Back Bay? Given the-
Wouldn't demand dictate that? Because only the strongest survive.
Yeah, except that, you know, you don't want to put 40 boats or 50 boats running people back and forth on the Back Bay. That's just, you know, that's a lot of traffic on the Back Bay.
I just don't envision that it being possible. No one's gonna, that scenario's just not gonna come up.
Well, that was my point a minute ago, is that to make this happen logistically, it's going to be very hard. That was the point I was making before. But both gentlemen beside you there said that if it does, then we want them to have a list that we have approved of our needs and wants for if it happens. It's going to be very hard to have it happen. I 100% agree.
And I
But
agree with
we
that.
we should still give a list of, if it does, if there's a miracle company that has the funds, backing, resources to make this happen, then let's be ready for it, is essentially what we're
I could see some individual attempting this. And I'm more of a capitalist type person. I think that something should be in place. My thoughts would be that there would be some type of a permit required, just like a parasail or a jet ski permit or whatever. And that there would be certain guidelines that went along with obtaining that permit. And one of them would be meeting all the Coast Guard requirements and regulations, plus whatever our local requirements and regulations are concerning like Dave was talking about, concerning if they get caught speeding, going too fast in the back bay or whatever, which is from what I know, is the same thing that's connected with any permit, a parasail permit or jet ski permits or anything else. If you get outside the guidelines or you don't meet the requirements, you're subject to get your permit revoked. And so I think that that's pretty much kind of in place already. We just need to specify what we feel like that the needs are that are above what the Coast Guard requirements and regulations are.
And that's Ed, that's pretty much what we're having the discussion about is, what else besides having a boat that qualifies, would
So
we
what-
want to put on to protect not only the back bay, but provide enough, guidelines?
So this permit isn't already in place for, say, for some of these businesses running out of Fort Myers Beach. These permits and these guidelines aren't already in place for these businesses that are running out, like the tiki boats and
Well,
other.
may I suggest something, Chairman? Because I feel like we're going to be doing this a while if we're going the way we're going. Might I suggest between now, for the April meeting, we have a quick recap of this before we go into the double meeting, where each of us come up with 2 needs and 2 wants for this, that we'll just bring and we'll state it, and then, I don't even know if you want a discussion about it, but we'll just bring up those. We can finalize our list to bring to that dual meeting, and that will be our point of discussion. And maybe some are going to be the same. Maybe some of our needs are going to already be regulations that are already in place by whoever. But to kind of put a cap on this for now, I'm suggesting that we each leave this discussion here, knowing that we're going to come back. We each have 2 needs, 2 wants. We'll bring it to the next meeting. Maybe a quick discussion, and then we'll have our MERF committees finalized list then
Right.
to then bring to the double.
And this
And,
may,
and I agree with you on that, and I think that's a great suggestion. The only caveat or addition I would put on that is we look at a ferry service and we look at a taxi service. So we split the two and do a needs and wants on ferry versus taxi.
Cool.
I would think,
I'm sorry, now,
okay, and then this is just a question. If the town gets too involved, I know the town doesn't typically get too involved in new businesses coming in. I mean, of course, they get involved with the permitting and the whole process of starting a business. But getting so involved where they're actually promoting them on the town website, I would just wonder how much involvement the town would want to get into, and whether or not, what about liability? Is the town setting itself up on liability issues by promoting or by getting in contractual, contracts with businesses regarding ferry taxis or, whatever. So I have some questions about that.
okay, well.
And maybe Curtis or Mr. King could help me out with
legality of
those
the
questions.
fallout.
Yeah, the legality and
Well,
liability.
I don't think the town would say, we've approved these businesses, other than these are our licensed contractors to provide this service. I think that might be acceptable, but obviously you can't get into, we recommend these people or this, that, or the other thing, because then you're opening yourself up for potential problems.
Thank you. Thank you.
just a thought with the shuttle service, if we concentrate on the shuttle service, I would think a taxi service would develop out of however we design or however they design the shuttle service itself.
Please.
They're gonna have they're gonna have boats here. If we develop, or if they develop a shuttle service with 6 commercial stops, wouldn't you think that that company, or it would bloom from that with more?
Oh, you like a gauge as what the need is going to be?
Yeah.
potentially.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, Todd, to a certain extent, you're probably right. They would probably intersect or cross over, but then there are other areas where they wouldn't, in my mind. Like David talked about, if I live on a canal and on the south end canal, and I want to go to Times Square or the north end for dinner, is that something a taxi could provide, or do I need to use a ferry?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's my thought. I
Yeah.
just would
That's a
think
good
that would bloom from there, maybe, perhaps.
I would also like to know how people on canals feel about taxi services and ferry services going up and down frequently down their canals. That's their backyard, so I would like to know how, the community feels about that.
I definitely think a one would be no ferries down private canals.
Absolutely.
But taxis, on the other hand, that's gonna be a tough one. That's definitely something that we would love to hear from the community.
I don't think the ferries would be going down any canals. Like the
Right.
ferry would have the certain
I would think
certain
commercial
stops that it's going to
Certain
go
stops.
to.
Commercial stops.
But you
with
got to
park-
think
parking
about
available.
it now. All these tiki huts and stuff like that. All of them go down the canals
We had
already as
Tiki
it
Hut
is.
Pick somebody up on our canal next door.
Right.
They were there for 5 minutes and gone.
Yeah, I didn't want to bring up the tikis because that's a whole nother discussion, but they sometimes work as this, like, if they get, I've seen them drop off people some places.
Sure, well, and there's a lot of examples on the south end where a lot of homeowners have people picking them up on pontoon boats that are commercial pontoon boats, so on and so forth, so.
Yep. So it's
It's-
working in some capacity.
It's
already.
working in some capacity, but again, all we're trying to do is, again, look at the wants, needs,
Yeah.
get back together again. That was the whole purpose for today, is to start the discussion, and I think we could table this and,
So I motion that we each come back with 2 needs and 2 wants for the next meeting,
I'll second that.
and
Each of the categories.
for each category,
for each category.
Which categories?
for ferry and for taxi.
Okay.
Okay, are we all in favor of that? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Very good.
thank you. So, the town staff, moving to the other item on our agenda, as I said earlier in the meeting, the town staff stated that they have reserved the May 13th meeting that will be a joint meeting between the Anchorage Advisory Committee and the MERF to go through this. So,
Right.
is everyone okay with that meeting?
Yes, but will that be in lieu of our regular meeting? So like,
Yes.
we're not gonna have a second. it'll
That's
be
correct.
Okay, yep, I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right?
I will have to let you know I've got family commitments and things going on, so I may or may not be able to make that meeting.
Okay, thank you. All right, that brings us down to members' items. Ed, anything you want to,
I don't have a thing, Dave.
okay,
We just picked up 46 boxes of books. They are being transferred all up and down the coast in the next couple weeks to other communities. And there's still some available at the library, so if anybody would like to share a box with a local business or environmental communities, just let me know.
okay, anything else?
No?
Okay. Sharon,
Okay. So I'm a member of the Calusa Waterkeepers, okay? And we had to learn we did oyster gardens last weekend.
oh, wow.
Yeah, so a restaurant provides us with the shells, the oyster shells, empty, and then we clean them up, let them lay in the sun for 3 months, and then we poke a hole in them, thread them onto this wire, and end up with 30 of them on here. Then we take this and put it in under a dock, for instance, it has to get into the water, and then it filters the water, and oysters and other little creatures attach to it in the water. And then it becomes a cleaner to help all of the stuff in the water on our island. And so I just wanted you to see that. I have to find a place for it. I've got to ask Chad where I can put this. It has to go in water that is both fresh and salt together, brackish water. So
So that would be the Back Bay?
I think so. I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, Estero Bay, right?
Yep.
As it's called. Okay, so that's my
Mike,
Project.
what happens, does it fill up with oysters all
Yeah.
the way around then and get
Yeah.
thicker and
Yeah.
thicker?
It's just full of them, yeah. They get underneath, yeah.
The little baby oysters, before
Yeah.
they have a shell, they're out there floating around, they're just
Yeah.
zooplankton, and they'll end up grabbing on really easily to other oyster shells, and it just grows an oyster reef. So the oysters are bivalve feeders, and they breathe in dirty water, breathe out clean water. Every breath they take makes the world better, and I think that's
Okay.
great. And I think, building off this, maybe with the Calusa water keepers,
Yes.
we could get a community program that we can have, whether it's a day or an ongoing thing or a one-time thing. We can get community to come and make these to have under their docks, because I know
Absolutely.
you'll see them under docks still sometimes. They're a box. It's essentially the same thing, encouraging reef growth. Reef isn't just coral. It can be oysters, or it's a group of biodiverse community underwater. But we can maybe reach out to the water keepers and get a community outreach day where
Okay,
we could work with pinchers, we could work with anybody, SOBs, any of the oyster bars around here.
Yeah.
Have them start collecting them for us
absolutely.
and do something
So
like
the,
that.
Yeah,
my
that's-
question
That's
is,
great.
what happens as it gets bigger and bigger? Do you have to like eventually take the cable off the hook?
It does have a limit. Like they're not going to overgrow on each other too awful. It will be a point, but they'll reach a point where it'll be a sustainable bit. But it definitely gets big.
And
So,
then,
yeah.
and then what do you do with it when it gets to that point?
It's kind of self-regulating, in all honesty. So the reef will grow to a point, and if it gets too big for the certain organisms, they will fall off, and then that builds up underneath, which
Yeah.
can do it. So
Okay, underneath, so.
not to a point where you're going to have to dredge. Not like
No,
that.
no, I understand, but does it get to a point to where you end up getting an oyster bed underneath your pier?
Not usually, because they like the tidal zone where they're going to be exposed and they're going to be underwater every 6 to 12 hours. So these oysters need to be exposed, and then they need to be dredged and back and forth. So under the dock, except for extreme tide events, I'm sorry, I took over your moment.
I don't
there.
mind.
Right, but you
great.
kept looking, so
I love it.
But it won't. If there's oysters that are falling down there, it will get flushed out with the tides.
Okay.
Is my point. They won't be able to, unless your dock is right at the water line already. Then you might have
Okay.
some growth, but you probably already do in that case.
Yeah,
So
Okay,
well, good suggestion.
Like on
And
the
I,
piling.
yeah, exactly.
I know the Calusa water keepers will love to do this, come and do this, they will.
'Cause
okay, excellent.
before Ian, they had all that kind of stuff.
Did
under
you
docks
want to do
already.
your other show and tell?
Uh,
Your activity book that was a knockoff on,
Oh, I gave it to Jen. Yeah, I
So
thought she
who
would.
did this?
Uh,
Presented by
Everglades,
Foundation?
Everglades.
turn your,
Yeah.
is your mic on, turn your mic on.
So Everglades
Yeah,
Foundation.
yeah, Everglades.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a takeoff of.
Imitation
fins
is,
and feathers.
imitation is the greatest form of flattery.
This would be something great if we could get, so I'll make contact and see if they can provide them to the Mound House. Yeah, because the Mound House would, I'm sure, appreciate
I'll
these.
take a few.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay.
anything else, Sharon?
No, that's it, thank you.
Okay, Todd,
No, I'm all set.
Yeah,
I
okay.
have nothing to add.
Rob,
Yeah, what did you bring today?
So, mine, I don't know if it's going to be controversial or not, but I think littering is pretty established to be illegal. Down on Bowditch Park, Bowditch Point, at Lynn Hall Park, and anywhere that people have been doing the beach weddings, I have been finding more and more of these fake flower petals.
oh,
Plastic just left out. It's pretty, but it is very destructive. It looks like algae to animals. Finding them in birds that we have necropsied, finding them all over. This is from one wedding last week that they just did it and left out. Now, granted, a lot of the families that have done this will try their best to clean them up, but they get lost in the wind, they get lost in the tide, and not every family is as respectful to clean them up as best they can. So this was literally just left out there, and this isn't even all of them. I have 4 bags from the one wedding. And many more bags from the past couple weeks, because I've been planning on bringing this up even before I found this last week. So I would love everyone's support. I can bring this to the council, or we can bring this as a group, but I would love everyone's support in potentially getting an ordinance to outlaw these completely.
I believe that's a form of plastic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, it is in our ordinance. We don't
Well-
allow balloons, we don't allow plastic
Well, then
to be
maybe,
left on the beach.
maybe mentioning these specifically, getting this amended so it's specifically mentioned in the ordinance, and also putting it on the radar of our beach patrol and Chad, so that they can be on the lookout for these, and as they see people setting up for weddings, they stop it before it even gets out there, and just going up to these events and mentioning
Was
it.
this a wedding that was on, at
This was a wedding.
a wedding that was at a resort?
No, this was a wedding that was at Bowditch Park.
So Lee County should be made aware.
But,
and-
well, but it also I've found just as many at Lynn Hall Park, just because this specific one,
It's also county.
well,
Also county.
right, you're right, I'm not getting away from that, but the county isn't out there going after these, all the time. Our beach patrol guys are, and it's not just at the county parks.
They have to have permits to have those weddings on those beaches, and so I would think that under getting a permit under the county to have weddings on county property would require a permit processing, and I would not doubt that that has it listed,
Yeah.
that plastics are not allowed.
Well, I think the point, if like, I'm hoping and I assume that all of that is correct, so I think the point that I'm trying to make is specifically putting the fake flower petal as a named, listed item that is outlawed
I think so.
is the way to go. Because, like, straws aren't allowed on Fort Myers Beach, but we allow the fade straws, which are a form of biodegradable plastic, but biodegradable is not a regulated term, and they only biodegrade under very specific conditions. But yet we're still allowing that, which should not be, in my opinion, should not be allowed.
So we should definitely get in contact with Lee County and ask them if we could have a copy of maybe a
Yeah.
draft of what a wedding or a party consists of what they require.
Or
Counselor,
we could outlaw the
Counselor
weddings.
King, are,
It's not Lee County, it's not,
are you aware of any license requirement from Lee County for weddings on their parks?
You know, I'm sorry, I'm not, but to Rob's point, I don't know that it require an ordinance, but I think when they come wanting permission, they seek, I think, a permit or a license, that could be added to that.
Yes, absolutely.
So that, that's very clear as to what the expectation is. If you're wanting to use Fort Myers Beach as a wedding, you have to apply for this, and then these are the specifications.
The town has no purview over the
The county, no.
county parks?
No.
So anyone that's using a county park doesn't necessarily need a permit from the town hall to use the park?
No, but our Parks and Rec, I think, does issue permits for weddings, I believe.
Even if it's
I recall seeing that in the budget discussions, anyway.
even if it's at a Lee County park?
That, I don't know, I doubt it, but
Okay, so if they're doing it at a Lee County park,
let me check with staff, and we'll
okay.
get back to you.
Because if not, then, you know, I can send a letter to.
But we can work with the county and say this is a concern
Yes.
on the beach.
And I think that would probably move mountain a little further coming from a counselor than.
Or, I
than the-
think the staffs interact a lot.
Yeah.
The town manager and the county manager, and then
Okay.
whoever is staff.
this-
just-
this is
This is
very
a concern on the
concerning.
beach.
I think fresh flowers, fresh petals would be okay, right? Fresh flower petals?
Yeah, I mean,
That's what you could just, we
yeah,
could
so
look
at the pink shell weddings,
Yeah.
and, you know, not to call them out again, but the pink shell weddings, they will use actual flower
Fresh
petals.
flowers.
So that's natural, that's biodegradable,
You
those can
bet.
be left out, don't need cleaned up. Now,
Yeah,
the problem is if this isn't being enforced,
Exactly.
and animals are going and loving to eat those flower petals,
precisely.
they're not gonna know the difference.
No,
So introducing anything non-natural could have side effects.
for sure,
Right.
for sure,
There's, you know,
for sure.
a million other,
This is-
you know, natural things you can do, yes, 100%. It's just taking the time, it is probably more costly, which is why they do this instead.
Yeah.
But those are all things that,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
are
Rob, this
taken
is a
into account.
good point that you have brought this up, I think.
Yep,
Oh, my.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Counselor, can you follow up with me, and then if there's something that needs to be done as far as contacting Park and Rec, I can push the buttons to get that going?
I'd be happy to work with staff
Thank you.
and get back to you on it.
Okay,
Then I have one more thing, is the street water that goes into the drains, that goes into the back bay through piping and that. I was wondering what the logistics would be of, I've seen it before, of getting the trash collecting nets at the on those drains. It's essentially think of this as a net, there's the tube, it's affixed to that, so plastic bottle caps, bottles, petals, anything that gets caught in there gets trapped in that net. Now, it would have to be, somebody would have to empty it.
Yes.
Frequently and things like that, but it alleviates a lot of trash that's street trash and plastic and pollution. It alleviates it getting loose into the back bay.
Exactly.
I was told there was a filtration system and
Inside of it,
that catches a lot of the big stuff that gets cleaned out when they,
well, I go down, at the north end at least, I can't speak for the whole island, but the north end, and everywhere there's a drain, there's piles of trash underneath of it.
Okay.
Trash cans would help.
underneath the
Underneath
grid?
the drain from the street,
Okay,
yeah, coming into the back bay. So, just thinking of, ways to alleviate.
I have one right in front of my house. I'm constantly having to sweep that and, get all
So-
the crap.
I know it'd be a cost to the city, I know it'd be a cost to the town, and I know that maintaining them would also be,
Right.
put into that, but the more people and the more things that are being built up, the more stuff's getting into our back bay, and
yep. Curtis,
That's exactly
when,
correct.
can you get in touch with Chad and see if he can touch bases with Public Works and find out what filtration system is in the system right now?
Absolutely.
And see if there's any improvements that could be done if it's not adequately working?
Will do, yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. And then Chad can
Update
update us
you.
at our next meeting.
Absolutely.
Great,
Thank you.
that's all I have, thank you.
great.
Okay.
Great.
I'm good.
Okay.
Yes.
I took one.
We're good.
Well, I don't have anything either. I thank everyone for your candid inputs today. This was something that we were charged with by the town, and I think it's a good step. I think the more conversation we have, the better our assistance can be to the town, which is our whole purpose. And again, the Back Bay is under our purview, and we want to make sure that nothing gets done to the Back Bay that would jeopardize the marine life, the environmental grasses that are needed, and everything else. So that's, I thank everybody for your comments. And with that, Curtis, did Chad give you anything as far as the staff update?
No, sir, I have nothing
Okay.
to pass at this time. The biggest topic was the taxi stuff
Hey.
and everything like that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Dave, if you want to, I can share about canal dredging.
yes, would you do that, please?
town staff and I have been meeting, not last Thursday, but the previous 2 Thursdays with Senator Rick Scott's staff to try and see if there's any way of getting any kind of funding for canal dredging. They got back to us last week with a list of possible places to apply. It looks like one of the places that would probably be best for the town and a fit would be with the Army Corps of Engineers from a grant. I think staff is going to be looking into that, and the senator's office has offered to help in any way facilitate that as well. So that's where we are currently.
Okay. I know that there's numerous canals back there that still are desperately in need of dredging, so I encourage the town staff to move forward on this. Because I believe it is a viable economic concern for the people in the back as far as their value with the back pay. And it does, I think cleaning the canals actually does improve the health of the bay itself. It's just terrible that it's got to get cleaned out after a storm like Ian.
Believe me, there's a will, and if we can find the way, we'll get it done.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That takes us down to public comment, and again, show of hands. Okay, no one's got their hands up, so I will close public comment. Murph Award. Anyone have any nominations for the Murph Award?
Did the library get theirs? Did the library, we voted on back in December for January being the library?
We did not have an award to give them because they weren't in yet. No, they did not.
Are they in?
Yes, they are. I believe they are. Bill, are they in? Did you bring them?
I have them in the vehicle. The vehicle is somewhere on the island.
Okay. We will have the award. We had them in a box. The box got moved, and we had to get them back. So yes, we will get the award out.
You'll have them today.
And we could drop one off, or I could ask Chris King, who's on their library board, to give it, or we could have the library come in and receive it. Probably. Sure, all right. We'll plan that for the next meeting. Okay. Brings us back to Murph Award now. Anyone have a recommendation?
Did we decide in the past we don't nominate people on Murph, right?
We've kind of tried not to, just,
Okay.
It's kind of like, gee, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
I'll give you an award, you give me one
Right,
next
right.
week, okay?
Did we have any in the bank?
I don't know. Jennifer, you had a couple, I thought, way back. We didn't have any nominations from last month, so,
Okay.
I haven't heard about anything going on. I hadn't heard about anybody doing anything.
yeah, I hate to nominate any of the ladies walking around during the Mrs. Wordle.
I believe that I
Conflict of
already
interest.
nominated Miss Macy Knoll, who was the person who did the Murph children's book. But just a quick note, she was asked to do a mural at FGCU, and they're having a ribbon cutting on the 12th of this month. so I guess tomorrow. And I was asked to write a letter of recommendation for her, and I'm thrilled that she was able to do it. So if anyone here on the committee wants to take a little trip out to FGCU tomorrow night from 4 to 6, it'll be a ribbon cutting and a beautiful, beautiful mural. Quite an honor for her, so. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So, Ed, anyone?
You know what? If I mentioned who I thought should get an award, everybody would choke.
Counselor King?
I'm just trying to get Ed to use his microphone.
Okay. Well, we can table it till next month. We don't have to give one award every time.
I do have a school coming out on Saturday to do a beach cleanup with me. Maybe somebody will be there, and I'll put it in the email if I see somebody doing exceptional.
Excellent. All right. Okay. Agenda for next month. We want to bring back our wants and needs so we can do it from today's discussion. I would also like to bring back the, just for a discussion, kind of like what we had today, looking at and dovetailing on Jennifer, what you said, you know, reaffirm what our direction of MERF is so that we do it. Also, I believe in April, if I look at the ordinance on it, is that I believe in April we have to issue the invitation for the Mulholland Award. We got a special exception last year because we were late, but I believe April is when we do it, and I know it just occurred, but I think in our next meeting, we have to introduce the applications to the town for the Mulholland Award to be presented by the town council for 2026, I'm sorry. So, I'd like to put that on there, if there are no objections. Anybody have anything else?
I would like to put on there more about the helicopter. I could take photos of the helicopters and we can figure out which one is the culprit, but there's just way too much of it going on. We see any beautiful big birds that we do have go, they just get so disoriented.
Well, so, I don't mean to interrupt on that. If you get a picture of the helicopter,
Right,
get a picture of the number on the side,
I will.
you can look up you can Google who owns it.
Okay,
And from there, you can either report that to the agency that is enforcing that right now.
okay,
But as far as whatever company, whoever's flying around, I think the city is kind of taking a step back from that. Am I wrong?
and that is
I
true.
believe that's
You're right.
correct.
So I think that's kind of out of our jurisdiction. Like, we've spoken our piece on that, but if you have a beef with a specific vehicle,
Okay.
whether it in the air or on the ground,
All right,
it's something you need to call into
okay.
is it
FWC
FWC,
is who you want
FAA.
to call, and I've
Yeah.
got the phone number. I can certainly
Okay,
provide that.
okay.
And I'm not trying to take that off. I'm not trying to put that saying it's not important. I'm just saying, like, we have spoken our piece on that. I think, does everybody agree on that?
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
No, I actually have a question.
Yeah.
So I've been told that if you run a business, for example, the helicopter business has boats that leave out of Fort Myers Beach, and that is, constitutes as running a business on Fort Myers Beach. When you have a boat service that's picking people up and taking them to a barge to take them out, I would think that the town would have jurisdiction over that.
Over the boat?
Over the boats, over
What-
the business.
Over the
taking-
boat when it's docked, is that accurate?
Yeah, the business is running out of Fort
Yeah.
Myers Beach when it's actually picking people up, taking money, and then going off to another location.
So, do you have, can you expand on that? Is that accurate?
So yes, the operation itself is conducted outside of the town's jurisdiction. whether they're running a boat from, you know, Moss Marina out to that, the operation itself with the helo taken off and everything like that and its landing pad, that is outside
Yeah, because I agree with
the
what you're,
jurisdictions.
I
So
agree
they
with
don't
what you're
have to
saying,
have
Jen.
permits? They don't have to have permits to take
No, he
people
does.
from
So,
Moss
so
Marina?
hold on. So, that side of it, I'm not sure where it's at. I think that that company has an agreement with Moss Marine to keep his boat there. Now, I know that there's other, you know, charter boats, sailboats that run businesses that go to the other restaurants and stuff like that. And that's between the restaurant and that
So they
entity, I
don't need
believe.
permits or licenses to,
Now,
from the town?
Now, the helo side of it, that operation, he had to get permitting through FWC to be where he's at and all that. So from that standpoint, he is clear. But I will say that there is discussion right now whether who is going to regulate his operation, whether that is going to be under FDOT's purview, if it's going to be labeled as a structure, a fixed structure, or it'll be under FWC's purview if it's labeled as a vessel. FWC is the one to determine that. They are they are working on it with their legal team right now, and once they have the answers, there will be another meeting
Thank
to
you.
decide who is going to be the main entity to regulate
And
that operation.
I understand that part of it. What I'm asking you is, do they require a permit or a license from the town to operate from a marina that's located on Fort Myers Beach?
Jen, I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to have to get back to you because I don't feel 100%
Okay.
confident on answering that. So,
Okay.
So
we will get back to you on that.
I want to touch on that a little bit, because I 100% agree, like, there's a lot unknown with this. Like, he's docking his ferry boat at a private dock across San Carlos Bay in the evenings and when he's not running his ferry boat out to his barge. So it's at a private dock down the last channel before Bunch Beach. So if it's a private dock, I think there's a lot of gray areas and a lot of loopholes that are being utilized with that specific company. When there are tour boats operating out of a private dock or a private resort or whatever, that's between the company running the boat and the company that owns the property. I don't think the city gets involved in that. Whether or not that's how it should be is a different discussion. If I'm wrong, no, I mean, I'm just trying to say, like, it's so hard because there's so many hands in this pot as to trying to regulate it. My point with what I was saying to you, Sharon, is it's kind of out of our, and this is kind of what we came to when we discussed it, it's kind of out of our purview as to what we as MERF can do about that specifically. But what I encourage anyone who cares about it to do is not only your own research, but also your own efforts into contacting when it's a problem, contacting the FFA, or not, whatever the F is, and then going into, like, letting people that are making these decisions, that are making these regulations, the FWC, and taking it upon yourself to letting people know that it's a problem. As far as the legality, I think that there's enough people looking at it now trying to figure out what that is. But the more of our community, the more private individuals that are raising their concerns to those who are law enforcement, that's where, does that
I think
make
that
sense?
sums it up nicely.
Yeah, but my question still, I still have the question whether or not they will be
I don't think so.
required to have some sort of license, then wouldn't the ferries or the taxis have to do the same?
I don't think so.
I mean, that's the same.
And that, well, that goes, I agree. That goes into.
That's taking people out for money,
yeah.
for
And it's-
monetary, it's a business.
But that's the thing. That's why I was trying to say, like, it's a huge logistical nightmare to get those ferries going, just like it is for this one company that's only ferrying to his private barge, you know? And it's been a logistical nightmare to figure that out. So I 100%, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But if it's a dock, it's a private dock.
Yep. Okay.
I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I'm just saying that's how it is.
It is what it is.
You mean private dock if you're a business like Fishtail Marina,
Yeah.
it's considered a private dock, so businesses don't have to, that's what I would like to know is
Yeah.
whether or
And-
not they.
And from what I have seen, working with businesses on the island and seeing how docks operate, whether it's a personal private person's dock or whether it's like a resort dock, it's ran by the owner of the dock. Now, how the dock is built, how the dock goes out into the waterway, how high, like all those things, those are regulated by bigger entities. But once that dock is in place, it's a private, part of the private property. That's why you can take a fishing boat down a private canal, and if you don't live on that canal, it's a publicly navigated waterway. So you can be there by right. But the minute you touch someone's dock, then it's that person's issue. And if that person wants to escalate it, then they can call law enforcement. But it's on the private dock owner as to how that situation would be regulated.
So Mr. King.
And if
or
I'm speaking out of
Curtis-
turn, I'm just going by what I've experienced and what I know.
So I guess
Please
my
correct me.
question would be is do these boating companies, these tiki barges and the tourist boats out there, so we do not require a permit?
If they have
or-
permission by the dock owner to tie up, that's all that matters.
Are you sure?
I'm not, but that is how, I don't see it being enforced any other way.
Curtis or Mr. King, do you know if that is required, if it's a business?
We'll have to follow up with you on that.
Okay.
We're not 100%
Okay.
sure, so we're going to get you the answer
One
next
of the
meeting.
main points of that deal also, the gentleman that's operating this business, he's not charging these people to take them from the dock out to the helipad.
Right, it's built into the price that
It's
they take
free.
it.
Well, it's essentially a free service in order to get them out there to get to the helipad. And so it's not really, that portion of it's not really the commercial part of the business. The heli is the commercial part of the business. So there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of confusion in there. And I can certainly see why the town was backing away from getting involved in any of that.
Right.
So, and as far as the helicopter itself, from owning my own aircraft, the helicopter owner and the pilot are strictly bound by the regulations set forth by the FAA, and those regulations are very clear.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we had our discussion
Yeah.
now instead
Yeah.
of, instead of
Yeah.
the next meeting there.
Okay. So, it is now, we got the agenda set, so
What is the date of the next meeting? Because it's wrong on the agenda.
the,
April 13th, or May 13th. Oh, no,
April.
April, you're right. I was thinking for the double.
what is it?
It'll be the 8th, is the second Wednesday of April.
Thank
April
you.
8th.
April 8th.
Next meeting will be April 8th here at 10 o'clock. And with that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I will do that.
And motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Thank you. It is 11:23, March 11th. We are adjourned with the MERF meeting. Thank you very much.